thank you for listening to my daddy's podcast.
Hey, don't let these tears fool you. It's all dog around this mug. I'm good.
Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation? It is yours truly, Timothy J. Jones. And yes, I am the host of the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. I really do appreciate your time. Well, the Saints get a little bit of home looking in this week 3 matchup. The New Orleans Saints will be taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles are coming off of a very crushing Monday Night Football loss to the Atlanta Falcons, and the Eagles are looking to regroup. Meanwhile, the New Orleans Saints have been one of the most high-powered teams in all of football and one of the most popular teams very early in this NFL regular season. They come into the game 2-0, riding high with that high-powered offense. We've all heard the stories, 91 points in the last 2 weeks. Defense is looking really formidable, but this will not be an easy matchup for the New Orleans Saints. But I know that a lot of people want to address the elephant in the room. You know, I'm pretty sure a lot of you seen the videos of, Philadelphia Eagles fans marching in downtown New Orleans, second line, taking over Bourbon Street, taking over the French Quarter. I've seen this movement before. I see this quite a bit. These Philadelphia Eagles fans, the 49ers fans, the Atlanta Falcon fans. I mean, everybody seems to do this. And, I don't really, look at this as as disrespect or anything like that, even though I feel like they try to make it that way. I just think that, the New Orleans Saints aren't really that concerned about a bunch of fans marching down on Bourbon Street or the French Quarter, or Canal Street, or what have you. But all in all, this could serve as bulletin board material for the New Orleans Saints. I know Saints fans, they look at this as bulletin board material because they feel like it's their town. But of course, marching and second lines, they're not going to win you football games. What's going to happen is you're going to have to come up with a game plan to try to neutralize this Saints offense. And the Saints are going to have to do the same when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles offense. Now, of course, we know that wide receiver A.J. Brown will not be playing in this game. He's been dealing with a hamstring injury. He is the number 1 receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles. But they do have Devontae Smith, man, a very talented wide receiver in his own right. Caught a touchdown last week versus the Atlanta Falcons and made some plays. And he's a really good wide receiver, really good route runner. Really good hands, has that really good speed. Of course, we know he comes out of Alabama, won a Heisman Trophy back in 2020. So this is a really talented dude, man. And also you have Saquon Barkley that's running out of the backfield. I know that, the Atlanta Falcons won the game, but Saquon had 96 yards rushing, nearly 100 yards. I know a lot of what Saquon did in the game got swept under the rug because he dropped that pass on that 3rd and 4. That would have more than likely sealed the victory for the Philadelphia Eagles and sending the Atlanta Falcons to 0-2. But, this dude is talented, man. And the Philadelphia Eagles gave him a lot of money in order for him to come over, in order for him to kind of shore up that running back room. And then you have Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts has gotten off to a little bit of a rocky start, man. But it just seems to me like he's trying to make more plays in the pocket instead of using his legs. But I think that late in that game versus the Atlanta Falcons, you saw that Jalen Hurts was moving around in the pocket and also getting first downs and chunk yards. So I expect for the New Orleans Saints to try to find a way to try to neutralize Jalen Hurts. So you got to be able to do that, because if you're paying attention to Saquon Barkley and trying to make sure that he doesn't basically run wild. You want to make sure that Jalen Hurts don't do the same, because if you do, then you're going to find yourself in an uphill battle, man, and you don't want to do that. I expect for the Philadelphia Eagles to come into the Caesars Superdome a little bit desperate, man. They're desperate for a win. You can tell by listening to some of the onlookers, the reporters, the radio personalities out there in Philadelphia, like they are very upset about how that game ended versus the Atlanta Falcons. They felt like they let Atlanta off the hook. So they've been reading these articles and they've been watching these television shows about how the Saints are the toast of the town this week. So the Saints are going to have to be focused, because I guarantee you, knowing Nick Sirianni, the arrogance that he coaches with, the way that he kind of walks around like he owns the place, he reminds me a lot of Sean Payton. I'm not going to lie to you. He reminds me a lot of Sean Payton when it comes to his arrogance, him being sure of himself. He feel like everything is going to work, and he definitely likes to upset fan bases by, knocking off red hot teams like the New Orleans Saints. So the Saints are going to have to be focused in this game, trying to neutralize Jalen Hurts and also trying to neutralize Saquon Barkley. Now, the New Orleans Saints defense, they can do that. They are capable of shutting down what Philadelphia does well. They've been doing it over the last couple of weeks. People haven't been paying attention to it, I should say, because of the offense. But this defense has been really, really formidable in the secondary. Doesn't matter if Marshawn Lattimore is playing or not. They seem to always rise to the occasion. Now, there are going to be times where, they'll get beat in coverage. But what I like about this secondary most of all is that they play with amnesia. They don't allow a play where they possibly gotten beaten on the first try. They don't let it affect the second try. And they just go out there and they play really, really tough. And also the physical style of football the defense has been playing with. You don't really see too many missed tackles out there. You don't really see too many guys not knowing where they need to be. But I think that has a lot to do with the veteran leadership on the New Orleans Saints team at all three levels. You got Cam Jordan on the first level, Demario Davis on the second level, and, of course, Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger, in the secondary. So there's a lot of positive things going on with this defense. Carl Granderson had a sack and a half last week. You had Chase Young with a half of a sack. Brian Brzee forced a fumble. That accounts as a sack. So the week one game where, Alontae Taylor had 3 sacks, people were wondering, like, where was, the pressure going to come from? Will the front four be able to get pressure on quarterbacks? I think they pretty much answered that question. So if they can get pressure on Jalen Hurts, move him off his spot, and also have a spy out there, someone like Willie Gay or Pete Warner, to make sure that Jalen Hurts doesn't get one of those big chunk yards, because maybe the secondary is playing man coverage and they got their back turned. As long as they can keep him, in the pocket, right? You don't want to allow Jalen Hurts to beat you with his feet. Allow him to beat you in the pocket. And if that's the case, then they were just better than you on that particular day. But I just think that the New Orleans Saints defense should be formidable. I think that they're going to rise to the occasion. I like as an overall team how the Saints aren't getting too high on this 2-0 start, and everybody's talking about how good this offense is. I like that. I think as long as you stay focused, you should be okay. But we move to the offensive side of football for the New Orleans Saints. I mean, what else needs to be said, man? I mean, these guys have been absolutely incredible over the last couple of weeks. The resurgence of Alvin Kamara. Well, I don't even want to call it a resurgence. I just say that they have been utilizing Alvin Kamara better than they have over the last couple of years. Look, Alvin Kamara was never washed. Alvin Kamara was never, on a down tick of his career. The Saints offense failed Alvin Kamara. And I've said this on several episodes. If you utilize Alvin Kamara the way that you should, utilizing his skill set, catching the ball out of backfield, and also being able to come up with creative ways to allow him to be effective in a running game, we see what has happened. Now, it's very early in the season, but you have to believe that Alvin Kamara, is on pace to possibly be one of those offensive player of the year nominees, or even win it if he stays the course. But it's all depends on the offensive line. Now, the offensive line over the last couple of weeks, they've been the toast of the town because they received so much scrutiny coming into the season. Everybody was talking about, can this offensive line be able to protect Derek Carr? Can this offensive line be able to open up lanes for the running backs to run through? They have answered all those questions. And, it was very, very, positive to see them go up against elite pass rushers in DeMarcus Lawrence and Michael Parsons last week. Now, for the Philadelphia Eagles, they're still trying to find that guy to be able to give them that production when it comes to the pass rush. You no longer have Hassan Reddick anymore. You got Bryce Huff, a guy who had 10 sacks. But if you look at his stat sheet, man, that was the most sacks he had in his entire career, and that was on a contract year. So maybe that was one of those situations where, that you needed a big contract, so you need to put up some big production. But they're trying to find ways in order to get pressure on a quarterback. But they got some talented guys on that front four, man. You got Jalen Carter, the interior guy. You got Jordan Davis alongside him. We know Zach Bond has been doing really well when it comes to the pass rush with them, a former New Orleans Saint. You got Nakobe Dean, the linebacker that can kind of fly around. I'm pretty sure that he is going to be the guy that's going to be responsible for looking and making sure that Alvin Kamara doesn't run wild. Look, the Saints are going to have to establish the run because Philly is going to come into this game looking to shut down the run, and they're going to count on Derek Carr possibly beating them in a game. Now, Derek Carr is capable of throwing the ball around the yard and winning football games, but the way that the Saints offense is structured, you want to make sure that you have a balanced attack. So this offensive line is going to have to continue to replicate what they have been doing over the last couple of weeks. I think if you run the football effectively, I think you should be fine. Now, Philadelphia has struggled against the run. Over the last couple of weeks, teams have been able to run on them very, very effectively. But the thing about it is, I just look at when, a team back is against the wall and they're watching and hearing all of these things going on with their opponent, all the positive praise. I just think that they're probably going to buckle down. Now, so I think you're going to see a little bit of improvement. I don't think the New Orleans Saints need to go into this game feeling like, oh man, look at their analytics. Look at they're at the bottom of the league when it comes to rush defense. Look, you cannot look at those numbers and just think that it's going to tell the story. I mean, sometimes, these matchups come down to the way a team is structured, and maybe that could be the case. So the Saints have got to be dialed in. You got to be able to utilize Alvin Kamara as well as Jamal Williams in this game in order for you to set up the play action and explosive plays down the field. As far as the wide receiver position, look, Rashid Shaheed is no longer a well-kept secret. Like, everybody knows now that he is the Saints' deep threat. We've seen the numbers. He's almost up there with Tyreek Hill when it comes to 50-plus yard receptions, those deep passes. So I expect for the Philadelphia Eagles to make an adjustment to make sure that Rashid Shaheed doesn't beat them deep. Over the last couple of weeks, we've seen Rashid Shaheed have that big splash play of 50-plus yards. I expect for the Philadelphia Eagles to kind of know where Rashid Shaheed is at all time. So this can set up a really great game for Chris Olave, because now everybody is going to be paying more attention to Rashid Shaheed, and people are forgetting that Chris Olave is just as talented. Now, if I'm the New Orleans Saints, I know that Rashid Shaheed has been a deep threat, but I know that more than likely coming into the game, you're going to see everybody kind of paying attention to Rashid Shaheed. So you know what I would do? I would actually allow Chris Olave to run a deep pass down the field, because, a lot of people kind of sleep on Chris Olave, but Chris Olave is just as fast as Rashid Shaheed. He could get down the field as well and be able to catch some of those deep passes. So I would kind of switch it up a little bit, because I know that the point of emphasis is going to be coming into the game, not allowing Rashid Shaheed to beat you deep. So if that's the case, then there's going to be some coverage rolled to him. So that sets up a big opportunity for Chris Olave, a very, very talented wide receiver in his own right that can get it. So I will be on the lookout for that. I will be on the lookout to see if the Saints set up a deep pass for Chris Olave in this game, because so much attention is being paid to Rashid Shaheed. As far as just as far as the front four, as far as the linebacker group, like I said, you got to be able to pay attention to what Jalen Hurts is doing. Willie Gay, who has kind of been, in the lineup, but not as much. People expected him to play a little bit more. I think that this is a game where you're probably going to see more Willie Gay, because I think the Saints actually brought him in because he has this skill set that he can be able to spy on Jalen Hurts and those mobile quarterbacks that the Saints have to face throughout the season. So, all in all, who do I think is going to win this football game? I think the New Orleans Saints are going to win this football game. I think that Philly is going to be formidable. I think that it's going to be relatively close early, but I just think that the New Orleans Saints are probably going to pull away. And I got the score at 35-20. The New Orleans Saints roll and they go to 3-0. And I think that Saints fans are going to be excited. I mean, going into the Superdome in this game, I think that Saints fans are going to be ready to lose their voices. It's been a while since we are going to experience atmosphere like we're going to experience today. So I just hope that the New Orleans Saints be able to take advantage of this, because I just think that Saints fans are looking forward to cheering and being excited about their football team again. But I do want to say thank you all for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. And I want to let you know that the State of the Saints podcast is brought to you by BETUS. Sign up and you can get up to 150% on your first deposit and up to 125% on your second and third deposit. Like today, the New Orleans Saints are 3-point favorites against the Philadelphia Eagles. That's right, 3-point favorites. Now, the line kind of went up a tad bit. The Saints were they were favored by 2 in the game, but they went up just a tick to 3, and the over-under is 49 points being scored in the game. So as you can see right here on BetUS, all you have to do is just place your bet. If you feel like the Saints are going to win by 3, you place your bet there. If you feel like, the Saints and the Eagles are going to score over 49 points, so you can place your bet, or under 49 points, you can place your bet. Once again, thank you to the fine folks at BetUS. Sign up, get up to 150% on your first deposit and 125% on your second and third deposit. And all you have to do is use the promo code YouTube150. That's YouTube 150. But thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. A very busy, jam-packed day today. We'll be back at halftime breaking down the first half. We also will be doing a post-game show on Bleacher Report. The description for Bleacher Report will be down below, so you can click on that. Make sure you download the Bleacher Report app so you can be able to check out the post-game show. And then after the Bleacher Report post-game, we'll be right back over here on the State of the Saints podcast, breaking down the Saints versus Eagles game. Hopefully, we have something positive to talk about, but the way the Saints have been rolling, more than likely, we will. Till next time, all I got to say is, who that?
Thank you for listening to my daddy's podcast.
Hey, don't let these tears fool you. It's all dog around this mug. I'm good.